Well, what I think we're live still. It looks like we're still live, so we
I
should
think we
probably
are. Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, there he
He's
is.
back. He's back. All
He's
right.
I'm
back.
back.
Woo!
I am pretty
Cool.
sure I paid the Wi-Fi bill, so I'll try this again. Welcome to another episode. Obviously, you guys know Alicia, Alex, and Total Galaxy is joining us. So I apologize for the technical difficulties, but we'll get into it. But Alicia, how was your weekend? How'd you spend your weekend?
Well, Saturday was busy with games. There was wall-to-wall games, and Sunday I got to rest, and I feel so refreshed. So it was a perfect weekend for me.
That's always good. I know you do a great job covering all of MLS, and I know it could be exhausting at times. Alex, how'd you spend your weekend? I know it was a tough Saturday.
It was a tough Saturday, but hey, I'm glad the NBA playoffs got started this weekend. That was something I was so pumped to watch, and all the first games were really good, really close, and down to the wire. So I enjoyed that, and just everything going on also in MLS as well. Also, the end of the European soccer for most leagues was this past weekend, so it was interesting to see how all that storylines and everything developed.
Yeah, you bring up the NBA playoffs. I ended up watching the Galaxy game. I went to go spend some time with the Galaxians, I believe. That's what they're called. Galaxy Guy podcast was there. Carlissa, who runs there. It was an amazing time. There was a lot of TVs and screens everywhere. And I forgot the NBA playoffs were on because half of the side was really into the LA Galaxy game, but once everybody kind of knew the LA Galaxy game was it's not going in their way. That everybody some fans just started watching up the playoff game because I think the Milwaukee Bucks ended up winning in a game winner.
Yeah, I went to overtime. I remember I was flipping the channels to see how that happened, but I will say though, the NBA playoffs were a lot better than Saturday's match. I will say
they were. And unfortunately, any Laker fans lost on Sunday, but we'll see. We'll have to come back. But we're here to talk Galaxy. Obviously, it was a tough game, right? They lost 3-0. The red card, Derek Williams got the red card right before half, and then once he got that red card, it's kind of hard to play from behind. But Alicia, what were your thoughts on this game for the LA Galaxy?
Yeah, they were very much in the game, I think, until the red card. It was pretty obvious that it was one of those games where you go down a man in a stadium where I think road teams typically struggle, and you're playing against a team that's really looking for a break. They were coming off a win, the Timbers were, but they've been hammered by injuries and seemed like they were kind of limping around. And so you give them a get out of jail free card like that to play up a man for a half, and they took full advantage of it. So it was a tough day for the Galaxy. I don't think that they were outstanding in the first half, but they were certainly in the game. And then they just could not keep up. And not to say that it's no big deal, don't worry about it. But I mean, these games do happen sometimes. And sometimes in soccer, your team gets a deserved red card and you just have to soldier on. And sometimes you can get a result and other times you just can't. And that was kind of the story of the day in my book for the Galaxy.
Yeah, Alex, when I saw that first half, I was like, all right, at times they were struggling to be creative offensively, but obviously that red card happened, and then the second half, we know what went down. Essentially, the wheels fell off. But how did you see this game?
I thought the first half was pretty good. I thought offensively, for the Galaxy, we were getting into a rhythm. Kevin Cabral, who made his first start, he had a lot of space to work with on that left flank. The right back for the Timbers was giving him lots of space. Obviously, the red card at the 44th minute, right as you're going to enter halftime, is going to be a huge monumental shift, not only for the players out there, but just tactically as well, since they had to switch formations as well. Overall, it was a really tough game, and kind of a game I think the Galaxy kind of needed. There was obviously that Seattle loss from earlier in the year, and then this one here up in Portland. I think this was kind of needed just to kind of wake us up a little bit, because while yes, nobody was kind of expecting the Galaxy to be in second place, I would say, I was putting them as more like maybe like fifth or sixth to start off the season. I was surprised that they were even this high. So I think this is something to kind of, I guess, bring the heads of the players down just a little bit, just to keep working and stuff like that. Overall, though, I feel like this match at once we reflect upon the season will be looked as probably a turning point and somewhere where some of the players and coaches can be like, hey, we saw what we did wrong here and we improved for, later on during the season.
Yeah, it was definitely a game that you knew that the LA Galaxy was going to be tested. You knew that there there's going to be at times that, things weren't going to go the way, but obviously we didn't expect what was going to happen. Obviously Greg Vanney didn't expect that as well. And I think the thing to me was like, all right, like obviously you mentioned Kevin Cabral. I wanted to see how he would look, right? Obviously he's still going to need a couple more games. And, Samuel Granzier, he left with an ankle injury, and it wasn't looking good for him. And then, you slowly things weren't necessarily working, but I was looking forward to the second half adjustments. Unfortunately, Greg Vanney had to make second half adjustments that he was forced into, right, by taking Efrain Alvarez out, putting in Nick Dupuis right there as center back. So it was a hard game, just to towards the second half to watch. And once that second goal came in, or that first goal came in, Portland did everything right. Attack it, get that goal in within the first 5 minutes, and then apply their pressure to the LA Galaxy being down a man. It was unfortunate for them, but I think the other thing is, like, Derek Williams, he tends to rely too much on that slide tackle, which I initially I didn't think it was a bad thing, but after this play, I'm like, okay, he may need to relax. What were your thoughts on seeing that slide tackle from Derek Williams, Alicia?
Yeah, it was a bad tackle. I mean, I don't think there's any debate. I mean, honestly, it was, to me, the thing that was really striking about it was the amount of force he used, and also how awkward it looked. I mean, often you see really bad tackles, and it's kind of one or the other, but you don't see both happening. And it just looked really unorthodox. And yeah, I mean, I don't think he meant to hurt Andy Polo. I don't think he meant to, do any real damage there. I just think he misjudged it and went way too hard. I think to an extent, I was talking to somebody, who follows the sport pretty closely, and we both agreed that one of the risks of getting players from certain leagues is you run the risk that they may not be quite calibrated to kind of the level of physicality in a new league. I don't want to paint every defender, from the English leagues with the same brush, but like, it's a pretty rugged physical league. And I think that MLS is a fairly physical league, but not to the level of the English leagues. And so even though I think that still would be a pretty bad tackle over in England, I think in England there may be more discussion of, well, he didn't, he kind of went for the ball, so it's no big deal. And in here it was pretty much universal, right? Like, it was immediate, like, oh, you can't do that. Greg Vanney offered no excuses. Derek Williams did not contest the red card. He walked right off quietly. He knew that he had screwed up, and it's unfortunate because, again, I don't think he meant to do it, but he did it. So you kind of have to live with the consequences, and I think he's going to be living with the consequences for a little while here.
Yeah, before I get to you, Alex, I want to play the replay. It doesn't get any better. It's gruesome. So just a heads up, everybody.
Oh, God. Oh. It's just, It's a difficult one to watch. And you just hope that Andy Polo's all right.
So it's not a replay. It's easy to watch, and it, like I said, the more you watch it, it doesn't get any better. Yeah, to me, I feel like it gets worse, right? And to me, it's like Derek Williams, like you're a minute away from the half, from going into half, right? And to me, I get what you're saying, Alicia. Like, he may come from more of a physical league. I would also say that the game wasn't that physical, though. The game, I don't think the game was getting that physical for him to do that tackle, but I think he's just relied too much. And hey, look, he's gotten every single slide tackle great. I think was he the one that got the pass to Chicharito? He gave him the assist, right? So there's been, the Galaxy have benefited, but this is going to be one that may come back to haunt him, because there's also talks about a potential extension on his suspension. We know he's going to get one, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got more, and I don't think that's something me or anybody would fight it. What are your thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah, the red card definitely was the turning point, probably the biggest turning point of all the match, really. Like you mentioned too, like a minute before going into half, and like Alicia said, in England, right, they have a lot more physical type strikers. I can name up a couple, Benteke, Lukaku, Cavani over there, right? Those are the kind of typical strikers builds that are there in England. In MLS, you don't really have that. You kind of have more of a shiftier, speedy type of striker in MLS. If you just really take a second to look at all the strikers that are in the starting 11s for most MLS teams. This was also really bad too because Williams for the Galaxy just loves to just play it out of the back, right? That's kind of been something new that we've seen and something that the Galaxy have been working on. And when you have to sub in probably your best passing center back, that's not really a good recipe for success at all. So it really hurt to see Williams, have such a bad challenge and so poorly timed tackle on Andy Polo. And then also to not having, I guess, a as comfortable center back, playing out from the back and trying to open up spaces for other players and start the attack going. So it was really rough to see that, and that the Galaxy had to start the next 45 without him.
Yeah, I think that's going to make it difficult. So, like I said, Alicia, what are your thoughts on Derek Williams getting potential more than one game suspension?
It's a guarantee. I think the question is really, is he going to get 2 extra games or is he going to get more than that? I think there's a pretty good chance he'll get 2 extra games, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got 3 or 4 extra games potentially. So, MLS usually isn't too punitive in terms of adding suspensions on, as long as you're not assaulting the referee or literally attacking an opponent. And I don't think this would count in that realm. Like, he wasn't trying to assault Andy Polo. It was still a soccer play, a terrible soccer play, was a soccer play nonetheless. So yeah, I think it's going to be somewhere in the 2 to 4 extra games. So we're looking at 3 to 5 probably altogether.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, and there's something that I wouldn't like. Yuck, if he gets those extra games, it's unfortunate, but it's something you just can't fight. And it's also something, I think the league would want to send a message like, hey, this is not the type of plays that we want. You can be aggressive, but you also don't want to injure the players, right? Because we saw Andy Polo walk out what looked like his knee. I don't know what the status of him, but it doesn't look like he's going to be coming back anytime soon. He may be done for the season. I don't know. Do you have any information on that, Alicia?
There was a tweet from Stuart Holden this afternoon that he has extensive knee and quad damage and looks like he'll be out for the season. I think we still need to wait. Yeah, I think we still need to wait and see what the diagnosis that comes from the Timbers ends up being. Things can change, but this isn't going to be something. It doesn't sound like where he'll be back in 2 weeks. It sounds like it'll take a while. And if it's something where it's a compound thing with quad and knee, then yeah, that's pretty bad. Actually, when I saw the replay just now, the triple replay that you showed us, it looked like his hip really got displaced when he got thrown up in the air. So if he avoids like a broken hip, then I guess that's okay. That's better than it looked really scary. I thought at one point maybe he broke a rib. There was all kinds of things it could have been. So we'll have to see for sure. But that's the initial word at this point from someone who one would assume is in the know. So we'll have to wait and see what the official word is.
Yeah, and if unfortunate for Andy Polo, but I think the other thing you got to look at, right, for Derek Williams, it's just like you don't have to do this. And on top of that, I think you're one of the leaders in the team. Now you're going to be out for potentially what you said. You mentioned 3 to 5 games. But no one's going to fight. No one's going to appeal, because it just makes sense, right? So it's like Nick Dupuis, I don't know if Kubley, right? The only thing that the only positive that I could see, or the only good thing I could see out of this is that the LA Galaxy are going to have a 2-week break after the San Jose game. That's the only positive out of this. But not to have Derek Williams, not to have him be there, because he's going to be the focal point of this team. Now you're going to be out for what, potentially 2 months. I don't know. It could be like a month and a half. So that's definitely going to hurt him there. So I just quickly want to say what's up to everybody in the chat. G-Man, what's up to you, G-Man? Andy Diosa, People Gonzalez to the rescue. Problem solved. I don't know about that. I don't know. How do you feel about People Gonzalez? Alex, tell us your thoughts.
I'm 50-50 on him, to be honest. When he first came to Galaxy, obviously it wasn't the greatest showing of People Gonzalez out there. But right now, kind of, I guess, next man up, especially without Derek Williams. Obviously, I don't want Nick Dupuis starting at that position. I think he played really good in the first match against Inter Miami. Thought he was really good. So I think he deserves another shot to be in the starting 11 with Derek Williams out.
I mean, the man is almost getting paid $1 million. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I know. He's got to get out of there soon.
He got to get an opportunity. G-Man says, be careful, G, or there might be another YouTube outage like last week's show, Too Much Fire, one show. Galaxy Guy Podcast, people is harder to find than Waldo. Wow. Hey, the truth is coming out. I mean, that look, if there was ever a time for people to step up, it would be now. You know, I don't know what's going on with him in training. I don't know his health, but they definitely need him. I know there was talks about Kubley. I don't know when he'll be in town for them. I mean, they got, that's what makes it hard because Derek Williams is the guy, but Derek Williams took himself out, unfortunately. So
yeah. Also to this, another injury that we'll probably talk about soon. Samuel Granzier, both of those new additions to the Galaxy, and they're going to be out. So it kind of sucks that these players are going to be out, and you kind of want to build chemistry and just got to know each other better. Out on the pitch playing football for 90 minutes. So it's going to kind of hurt, I guess. Just how we play a little bit, especially with new pieces coming in. Hopefully Granzier comes back in soon because I thought he played pretty well in the Portland match, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You bring up a great point. Alicia, obviously, Granzier is still getting used to the system. He's still getting used to the offense. I felt like he was getting better every single game he played, right? It's a slow start, but, it's expected from a player. But obviously he went out with an injury. So if he misses this Saturday's game, which we hope he does, or he's able to come off the bench, then obviously he's going to have some time to rest and get to know the system. But what are your thoughts on Samuel Granzier and so far the job he's done?
Yeah, I think he's shown some good things in moments. He's got some good footwork in tight spaces. He can hit a decent cross, although the Galaxy don't usually play too cross heavy these days. But I think he kind of floats out of games, and I hope that that's just a part of the acclimation process. By no means am I writing him off at this point. I think you're totally right that he needs time to acclimate, to get used to his teammates, to get used to the system that Greg Vanney's playing. But I don't think there's been much of a spark for him so far, and I think when we're seeing other players step in and really contribute right off the bat, obviously Victor Vasquez, as soon as he hit the field, he was, making impactful plays. Obviously Victor has experience in MLS already, so he's a little bit ahead. He's a little bit ahead of the curve, of course. But I think Granzier, he needs a little bit more time. But it would be nice if we could see some sort of production out of him before too long. Whenever he gets back on the field, see a goal or an assist and get him actually working with the group and, contributing. That'll probably lift him quite a bit. So, not crisis point, but a little bit of a concern. But, I think we still need to give him plenty of time to see if, it's going to work out. Yeah,
I'm feeling the same way, Granzier. Obviously, he's still learning the language, different things, the system as well. So got a lot to learn. But yeah, I think I would be a little bit more patient. The good thing they do got Ethan Zubak, right? That could either start for them. A lot of fans, have been all about Ethan Zubak, and rightfully so. He deserves all the praise because of just the work ethic and what he's been putting up. CCJD 2009 says, any chance of giving G2 players a chance? I haven't watched G2. Alicia, I know you're very in tune with the team. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, they've been playing several homegrowns or kind of quasi, end of the bench guys so far this season. So I think, there's definitely a good chance in the next few weeks we'll see some Cameron Dunbar, Augustine Williams, Kai Korenik, potentially. Give them a few minutes. I mean, I don't think any of them are going to start necessarily, but give them some time, see what they can do. Obviously, Dunbar, I think, has been really good coming off the bench so far this season. So if he continues to do what he's been doing, then I think he'll stay in the rotation. But he's also getting some time with Lostos, and I think that's good for his development as well. So, they're looking pretty good. They lost on Sunday, but they're off to a good start overall this season. So I think there's plenty of reason to be excited about the future. But I think probably the guys that are going to be coming from Lostos are going to be those who are already under contract, who are just kind of splitting time between the two squads.
Yeah, Alex, give me your thoughts on Cameron Dunbar. He's looked amazing so far.
Yeah, he's looked really good. I tweeted a while ago. I kind of want him to kind of have like a six-man role, kind of how they do in the NBA, right? Someone coming off the bench who can create a spark. And we saw that at the LAFC match where he kept pressing on the LAFC center back. I forgot who it was, and eventually that led to a goal. Just seeing that hustle out there too. And another G2 player I was mentioning too, since we're talking about Samuel Granzier's injury, is Johnny Perez. Maybe he can slip in there. He did play in that match against Seattle. So I can maybe see him getting some game time if Granzier doesn't play the next match against the Earthquakes. Maybe he comes off the bench. I doubt he starts, but I can definitely see him coming off the bench.
Yeah, that'd be interesting, because there is a lot of young talent and still pieces coming in for the Galaxy, and I think we're gonna see how this team obviously goes in after the 2-week break. Galaxy Guy podcast says Jalen's ruled out from G2. He has a fractured foot, but maybe I can't even say it. I'm a butcher his name. For Kranis, there we go. He's talking about STBs as far as STBs are concerned.
For Kranis has been playing most games for Los Dos as a starter. I think he's probably going to stay there for the time being. I think if for Kranis came up to the first team, it would most likely be maybe as a bench option. Greg Vanney does sometimes like to play center backs off the bench, just to keep guys fresh and give youngsters a little bit of time. I don't think it's as likely that the defenders at this point are going to get on the field to start for the first team.
Yeah, I think the defense is going to be a lot harder, maybe in the midfield because they're still trying to. There's more opportunities, I would say, in the midfield. But one thing I've noticed with the LA Galaxy, right? Typically, when the midfield tends to have a challenging game, right? Then obviously Chicharito is not as present, right? We didn't see Chicharito have an impactful game, and obviously Chicharito depends on the midfield, right? So obviously the second half is the second half. I mean, you can't blame that on Chicharito. They're down a man. So it's but I feel like it was challenging. I don't know if you guys see the game the same way, but I feel like whenever the midfield tries, is not able to be successful, that's when Chicharito tends to struggle. We've seen that with the Timbers. We've seen that in the first half with the Timbers. We saw that the full 90 minutes with the Seattle Sounders. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
I'd say the midfield. Oh,
go ahead, Alex.
I'd say the midfield really needs to be on point, as you mentioned, right? We had this time Sebastian Lletget coming inside, playing in that midfield. Last week he was in that right midfielder. Oh no, well, more central midfield, because I would say Efrain Alvarez last week kind of did play a lot on the right, which in last weekend's match he was playing more centrally, which is something that I definitely noticed. I thought him playing maybe more on the wide side, I thought was really good. He's able to see the pitch better that way, and that's really where Efrain Alvarez succeeds. Being able to see the whole pitch, look to put a ball in, and he's just got really good vision. And that's something I really like about him. So I kind of wish Vanney would have played him more on that right side. Like I said, his field vision to see the ball and just to place passes, looking at oncoming runs. I really think that's something Greg Vanney really needs to do a lot more instead of playing Efrain Alvarez more central. Sebastian Lletget and Jonah Dos Santos did really struggle for most of the Portland match. Jonah Dos Santos did lose the ball a lot, and that's something I've been really critical about Jonah Dos Santos, is that sometimes when he gets the ball, he's just too quick to lose it, or he can't get a pass on time. It's not something you want to see for your DP, as we can keep going on the conversation about my criticisms about Jonah Dos Santos. But
hey, this is you, man.
yeah, I have but yeah, I say this midfield definitely needed to be a spark against Portland, and unfortunately, they couldn't do that.
Yeah, let's talk about that. At least, obviously, Jonathan Dos Santos, DP, is making $2 million. Obviously, we didn't really see Jonathan Dos Santos. We didn't see any of the midfielders. Let's just be fair, right? It was a tough game, but I think Jonathan Dos Santos, there's people. I mean, even when I was at the watch party, people were talking about him, and this contract year. But what are your thoughts on him so far?
I think he's been pretty solid. I actually think the midfield is one of the areas that Greg Vanney really seems to be trying to figure things out. He's tried a lot of different combinations so far this season, and I think some of it is based on the matchup, and I think some of it is just he's trying to figure out what's working the best. And so we're seeing a lot of experimentation. Obviously, Jonathan Dos Santos has been present, for every game. I'm pretty sure he's going to be missing this upcoming game on international duty, so we'll see a new look. Same for Lletget, so it's going to be a little bit different for that game. But yeah, I mean, I think he's been solid. They've been winning more games than they've been losing so far this season. He has one goal. We're not accustomed to seeing him score a ton of goals. He's going to pop up with a goal every now and then. And he's not even a big assist guy. He's more, kind of the pass or 2 passes before the assist kind of guy. So that's his style. And frankly, he's somebody who has a very particular skill set, and you have to kind of build a midfield around a player like that if you want to get the most out of him. And I think that Greg Vanney is trying to do that. So, like, for example, most of the games this season, he's been using a very young destroyer next to Dos Santos, kind of in the back part of the midfield, either Adam Saldana or Carlos Harvey, to kind of do all the running and all the most of the tackling, that kind of thing, and leave Jonathan fresh and hopefully able to go a full 90. He's been doing that. So, that's been working. But then, you also have like I said, Victor Vasquez, I think, got off to a really good start. I'm a little bit concerned that his absence is now kind of dragging out a little bit. So it'd be great to see him before too long, because I think that he is the playmaker, right? Like, he is the guy that's supposed to be setting up the goals. So the more we don't see him, the more I think of a concern that ends up being. We knew that he was injury prone. So if he misses more and more time, it's going to be, I think, more and more of a drag. Like you said, Efrain Alvarez, I think, has been a little up and down, but he's trended positively, I think, in the last several weeks. So I think he's making a case to play. And then you have like Leggett, who I think should be, pushed up more in the attack. I think that you get the most out of him when he's, pushed up farther forward, although he can do a job in midfield. I just don't think that that's his best role. And so, it's tricky. I thought Sasha Kljestan came off the bench in a really tough spot this past weekend and played really well. It was kind of like putting out fires. And I think that he provides a spark when he comes off the bench for 30 minutes and, he can save his legs and really just save it for the end of the game and really just push as hard as he can. He's a really good two-way player. I understand he's probably not capable of doing too many 90s. So that's why he's coming off the bench. But I think he's actually showing his worth so far. But to me, all of this is to say, I think that Greg Vanney is playing around with combinations, trying to see what works, trying to see what's going to be the best version of this midfield. And I don't think he's quite found it yet. And so I think we're going to continue to see experimentation.
Yeah, and I'm with you. And I think he's still trying to experiment things, and rightfully so, right? You're still trying to move the pieces. He's still really trying to see how Efrain Alvarez really fits, right? Can he play in place of Victor Vasquez? I'm with you. I would rather have Leggett, but I see Greg Vanney's thinking, right? He wants to get the best out of Efrain, right? And obviously you don't want to put him in the midfield necessarily. You could have done that. But it was a tough game. It was a tough game for the midfield, a tough game all around. Obviously when you're down a man. But yeah, I think we're still going to see that experimenting because, like you said, national team players are going to be called up. The pieces are going to be moved around. So you're not going to have essentially starting this weekend, this next month, guys are going to be gone, right? There's going to be other players stepping up. So I think that's what's going to make it interesting. We're going to see, obviously we're going to start to see more of Greg Vanney, where he puts the players. Obviously Kevin Cabral is one game in, right? We want to see him. We see that he can run. We see what I think he just needs a couple more games to get comfortable, get to know his teammates and stuff. But unfortunate, it was a tough loss. And I just want to read a quote that Sebastian Leggett said, and Carlissa, who was out watching at the game, and she literally said this word for word. So this is what Leggett said. He's like, I'd rather have these type of games now than later. And rightfully so. I think every Galaxy fan, I was talking to kind of felt that way. So as we look forward, we're going to read a comment from El Trafico. Hard to judge Saturday's performance in midfield with so many moving pieces, integrating Cabral. Yep, completely agree. But yeah, moving forward, obviously we know what's at stake. It's the Cali Clasico, right? It's going to be an anticipated matchup. I just want to look at the standings. I know it's week 6, but it's always good to bring up the standings, right? So LA Galaxy, I believe, fell to 3rd. They didn't get any points. They stayed at 12. San Jose is at 9 points. So those are your 9 points in the 7th seed. So that's number 1 through 7, and then you'll see like Salt Lake at 8, LAFC at 8. So not too much movement from LA Galaxy, but you do like to see LA Galaxy up there, right? And it's going to be a very important match because say they get the win, they can move up again to second place. They lose and they might just stay or drop down there. So when you look at this matchup, Alicia, obviously it's big rivalry history. You got Wondolowski come in. I believe Cade Cowell. San Jose Earthquakes as well. So what are your thoughts going into this match?
Yeah, it's going to be a really interesting match. Like you said, the rivalry is always big. So, I expect that there's going to be some feelings coming in, between both teams, hopefully in a good way. But, the Galaxy, I don't think should be too disheartened by the fact that they are coming off a loss, because the Quakes had a 3-game winning streak, and then most recently they've had a 3-game losing streak. So they've hit a little bit of a slump, and they're trying to figure out what's going on right now. So I wouldn't say that they are lacking belief. I think the one quality that the Earthquakes have over pretty much any team in the league is belief. That carries them a long, long way, even as usually perpetual underdogs. But no, I think the Galaxy, even though they're going to be missing a couple of key players, San Jose is also going to be missing Jackson Ewell, who is a very key player. He's their captain for the same reason on international duty. So both teams are going to be missing important midfielders. So it'll be interesting to see which team steps up. It being in LA is going to be, I think, pretty big, to help the Galaxy. No guarantee, but I think it's going to help their prospects a lot for this game.
Yeah, Alex, you talked to me before, and you said obviously this is obviously a big rivalry. There's a lot of history with the San Jose Earthquakes. How do you see this matchup this weekend?
I see it really important. As you were putting up the standings, I put some notes on my paper. I looked at some of the bottom teams. Austin, they're gonna come back to their home stadium soon, right? They might go on a run. Minnesota. So far, it looks like they've gotten in rhythm after starting off horribly. Dallas, the jury's still out for. I don't really know. Even to LAFC, which were in last place last week, now they're up to 9th. So anything can really happen in the Western Conference, and I think that this is probably the toughest conference in all of MLS. So the Galaxy really have to keep putting up results to really just be in position to get a playoff spot, really. Just because anything can happen with tons of players from the Galaxy going on international duty. It's going to be really essential that the Galaxy keep up their production and just keep putting up points.
Yeah, because I'm with you. I think the Western Conference is the toughest because it doesn't get easier. There's no bad teams. You have one bad week, or you lose 2 games, or you tie one game and you lose another one. You're down. So the standings change like that quick, right? No one expected, right, LAFC to be at the bottom, but Galaxy fans, right, you love that, right, to see them at the bottom, and quickly, right, they shot up. But that's what it is. Like you're gonna have to have your best performance every week, right? You're gonna have your best performance because you can move up and down the ladder. But yeah, with that said, though, there's still going to be there's room for mistakes, there's room for error, right? Because it's still early, but you want to be able to limit that, right? And the great thing about LA Galaxy, Greg Vanny talked about this in his press conference. He's like, we started off hot, we started off hot. I'm just paraphrasing here. He said, pretty much just said like, hey, we got some wriggle room here, and I think this is what he's talking about, right? No one expected Derek Williams to do that. Now we'll have to find out how many games he's going to miss, right? Because then that's going to shift a lot of things on that defense. But you're also going to have to see, right, offensively, like how's the midfield look? Samuel Granzier, is he moving, right? How do we get Chicharito more involved? How does that look, right? Obviously this weekend, Josue in the chat says, I see Wando playing another 10 years. Wondolowski, man, he doesn't get old, man. He just keeps playing. And he keeps doing amazing things, and Wando is going to be a threat against the Galaxy. He's always a threat inside the box. He always finds a way to score a goal or be a threat with his baggy jersey. Can someone get him a fitted jersey, please? Or does he not like fitted jerseys, Alicia?
I think it's pretty obvious he doesn't like them. But the one thing about can he play 10 more years? There's a great quote that came out in a profile of him last year, where he said, you can't pull a muscle if you don't have any muscles, and so he's not a real gym rat. Let's just say, he's somebody who does what he has to do to perform on the field. But for him, it's not about being swole, and it's working out for him. The guy's never hurt, so it's working out pretty well.
Yeah, that makes sense. Galaxy Guy podcast makes a great point here. The total record against San Jose is 39 wins for LA, 17 draws, and 31 losses for LA. We have not forgotten the 4-0 loss to San Jose last year. LA needs this win. Yeah, Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Galaxy and San Jose fans that may be coming down to this game are definitely going to remind everybody about that 4-0 loss. I mean, obviously last year was a tough year, but I think this year, right? What better way, right? You already played LAFC, you got the win against LAFC. We know Greg Vanney understands the rivalry, right, better than anybody. What better way to to get back on track and get a win against San Jose, right? But it's not going to be easy because of how San Jose play, of how San Jose. Every player talks about it, how they defend and everything. But how do you think with this new look LA Galaxy team, Alicia, how they can break down the defense of the San Jose?
Yeah, San Jose I think has been pretty good by their standards as far as defending so far this year. Like they haven't had any lopsided losses so far, and that's kind of been a calling card for them under Matias Almeida. Unfortunately, when things are good, they're good, and when they're bad, they're losing like 5-1, 6-1, that kind of thing. So they haven't done that yet this year. Could be they're due for a game like that, and I'm sure the Galaxy would take it. But no, I think the way to really break them down is to try and get as much intensity out of the game as possible. So the Quakes really thrive on being like the highest energy team, like beating you to second balls, winning all the duels you can. If you can do that, you can really neutralize them big time. So we've seen that working in recent weeks. That's part of the reason why they're on this 3-game losing streak, is because the opponent is bringing up the energy and they're having a hard time trying to outwork the opponent like they typically do. And so the Galaxy sometimes are prone to, like I thought before the red card on Saturday, LA struggled a little bit with kind of pushing the pace, and Greg Vanney complained about that a little bit. He said that his team was not being proactive enough. They were just kind of holding on to the ball. They weren't doing enough with it when they did have possession. That's a trap, right? Like if they do that, then I think the Galaxy or the Earthquakes are going to jump down their throats. But if they're pushing it, if they're trying to play as fast as possible, if their tempo's high and their energy level is high, they can absolutely overcome San Jose here.
Yeah, Alex, what are your thoughts? I'm just quickly looking at their last.
Again, I'm gonna talk about Jonathan Dos Santos. He needs to be dominant this game. He really does. Like Alicia mentioned, Jonathan Dos Santos against Portland, just kept holding on to the ball way too much. That's why he kept getting the ball taken away. This midfield kind of needs to play a little bit quicker, but also to just have control of the spacing as well. San Jose are going to bring the intensity, so you kind of just have to make sure you're able to put yourself in position to get good space where somebody can run up the field and just have time to examine. People can make runs, smart runs. So that's something that the Galaxy definitely need to do. I'm not worried too much on the defensive end for the Galaxy, just because I think our wingbacks are really good, both in Villafania and Araujo. So I can really see them Araujo having another great game, because even though the Galaxy did pretty bad against Portland, I think Araujo lately has been in such good form, and I've been a huge fan of him so far this year. So I'm not too worried about the wings. Just a little bit more worried about inside of the box in these situations. Can we avoid penalties? Can we avoid making sloppy tackles? And just can we win these aerial duels when they do arise?
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting thing too, right? I was just looking at San Jose's last 3 games. They've had, talk about a tough last 3 games, right? Sporting KZ, they lost 3-1. Portland, they lost 2-0, and then Seattle Sounders, which they lost 1-0. It doesn't get any easier, right? They play the LA Galaxy, but that's the type of schedule they've played so far, and they haven't done bad. Like you said, we haven't seen those 5-0, 6-0 losses that we've seen the last couple of years, and I think this is also credit for another year in Matias Almeida's system that the players are getting accustomed, they're getting used to. I don't follow them as much as Alicia, but from outside looking in, that's what I can see. Another year in, you could get into that and you can start feeling a lot more comfortable. Alicia, I want to ask you about Cade Cowell. Am I saying his name right? I heard around there, I don't know where I heard this, but is Barcelona looking at him? Is that true?
There was a report last year that Barcelona was tracking him, and I have no idea if it's one of those situations where some random person on Twitter decides to start something, or if it's legit. I do know that there's been European scouts from unnamed European clubs that have been tracking him pretty closely. I think there's lots of scouts that track lots of players, but no, he's an impressive player. He's only 17. He has the body of a 25-year-old. He's ready for it. And he's starting to produce this year, and he's basically emerged to become the starting striker for the Earthquakes. And there's a lot to like about his game. So I think I don't want to get ahead of myself, but a lot of elements of his game and his emergence remind me of Alphonso Davies. And that's not to say for sure that he's going to end up on the same trajectory as Alphonso Davies, but I think that there are legitimate parallels between the players. So if that's the case, then it could be pretty exciting indeed. And who knows, maybe Barcelona one day. We don't know.
Yeah, I just want to ask you because I know you're in tune with the club. I mean, he's 6 feet, 163 pounds. Just reading his stats, 17 years old. I mean, and he's playing professional soccer. Last year, I believe he scored his first professional goal against the LA Galaxy.
Right.
I remember watching. I remember seeing that, and I remember he stood out to me. And I'm like, he's only 16. He don't look like no 16-year-old kid. What are they feeding him? Like, you know, I guess he's Mexican too. I guess he got the better genes of the Mexican side. Because man, I didn't get those, man. My younger brother did, but I didn't.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk in the Mexican press that I think is one of his grandfathers came from Mexico, and they've changed the citizenship law, so it's not as easy anymore for a grandchild to get fast track Mexican citizenship like it was a few years ago. For like Paul Areola, like he was one of those players who took advantage of that rule. Having said that. So all the, Kate Cowell's playing well. Like El Tree watchers are getting really excited, and they're like, "Oh, do you want to play for Mexico, man?" Or he's, hablas español, and he's like, "I don't speak any Spanish." Like I don't know any Spanish. I don't know about my future, that kind of thing. So I think it's probably a long shot that he'll play for Mexico, but he does have some Mexican heritage. So if you're into La Raza, then there's a player to root for. But no, he's a really exciting player.
Yeah, we'll see. What are your thoughts on him, Total Galaxy?
I really liked him. I've watched a couple of San Jose games. I think their midweek loss against the Sounders, even though his performance wasn't as great as the beginning of this year, I still thought he stood out. Just his ability to find these spaces, man. And he's a really smart player. Like, he knows when to time his runs, and also as well, he's just really good when it comes to controlling the ball at his feet. So that's something I'm a bit worried about. Some of the center backs their timing might be off, and there's a penalty here and there. But hey, as long as we're just able to contain him and just make sure he doesn't get started making these runs, he just kind of gets put in his place, by maybe someone like Adam Saldana or Nick DePuy if he starts. So I'm excited to see how the Galaxy deal with Cade Cowell and just how he'll perform as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a big body. He's explosive. G-Man in the chat says, Wondolowski mentioned he said he was special when Cal was in the 8th grade. I mean, it seems like he was in the 8th grade a long time ago because, man, that dude, he's a grown man right there.
I call it the LeBron James.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, it's the same thing where it's like a grown man in a teenager's body, and they're just way ahead of the curve compared to, all the other athletes.
Yeah, but I think I mean, this is what other countries are used to, having 16, 17 years old and coming in and making an impact on their club team, and then they go on and play for the national team. So it's exciting, right? It's exciting that this is happening. Obviously, you want to see this with the Galaxy. You want to see these type of players, but it's also I also understand that this is, like you said, LeBron James. This is once in a blue moon that this will happen, right? And but so far he's looking good. I think if they just manage the player properly, and he's able to flourish through the MLS this year. Maybe after this year he's gone. I don't know, but I'm excited to. That's one of the players that I'm gonna be looking forward to when I look at this game on Saturday. What other players concern you, Alex, or what concerns you going into this game for the LA Galaxy?
I'm just interested to see where Cabral gets put. In the second half of the Portland match, he kind of played up front with Chicharito, more central, and then he started the match off playing on that left wing. So I'm excited to see and just intrigued to see where Vanny and what kind of role he's going to give him. Are you going to make him play central, maybe pair him up with Chicharito, or are you going to have him play on the wing and just try to make cut in between the back line and make all these runs? So I'm excited to see how that works. Also, too, I'm excited to see if maybe we'll get to see more Adam Saldana action. I've been a pretty big fan of his so far this year. I think Carlos Harvey might be on international duty. I'm not sure. I haven't checked upon that, but I liked Carlos Harvey as well. So I really think that this midfield is going to be really important, and just being able to make sure that our players know what they need to do as well, because like I mentioned, Cabral, he's got to know, am I playing centrally? Am I playing wide? He's got to be, they got to clearly communicate to him, I want you to be out wide, cut in with the back line, or, hey, play centrally, try to help out Chicharito get into these spaces and just, give him a ball here and there inside the box and he'll finish it.
Yeah, I think when I saw Kevin Cabral's highlights, he looked like a wing player to me. But I mean, I know Greg Vanny's been shifting him to play up with Chicharito, which makes sense, right? Just give assist Chicharito a little bit more. What are your thoughts on that, Alicia?
Yeah, I think Cabral is probably one of the big questions coming into the game. Where he's playing, how is he acclimating? I mean, to me, one of the things I'm intrigued by is that we're not really going to see is like how does he communicate with Chicharito, right? Like maybe they each communicate in their native languages, and there's enough that they can kind of get by and understand what the other one's trying to say. I don't know. Maybe they both use kind of some English and hope for the best and a lot of hands.
Sure.
But no, I mean it's it's still early, so I don't want to put too much pressure on Cabral. And he fell out of form because he was in form when he was playing for Valenciennes, and then he got signed, and then he had to wait several weeks to come over here, and he lost his form. So that's kind of a blow, I think, compared to what everyone was expecting to happen. So he needs to work back his fitness and kind of get into game shape again, and hopefully he can find his niche and really take advantage. But much like Granzier, I mean, it's for Cabral, it's even earlier, and so we need to give him some time and see what happens. But I'm definitely intrigued and curious to see what he's going to bring in this game, because this could be a really big game for him and for the rest of the Galaxy, a big opportunity.
Yeah, no, I'm very interested as well, just as everybody. Guys, if you guys have any questions, drop them down in the chat. Galaxy Guy Podcast says, I want to see Caden succeed with the national team, but on Saturday, I hope he sucks hard.
Same here.
And that reminds me of the people that have players of the opposing team on their fantasy rosters. Like, I hope he gets an assist, but we still win somehow 3-2 and stuff like that. Hey, man, we love to see it. Sometimes it works out the way you want it to. Sometimes it doesn't. Another player I want to talk about is Jonathan Bond. Jonathan Bond has been incredible. Unfortunate, he ended up getting scored on 3 times again, which you don't want to see. But like, he's done such a great job, but the stats just don't show it, unfortunately, right? With all the goals, and I don't know, those are not on him. And right, the penalty, the I don't know, the first goal maybe maybe you could put it on him. I don't think so. I don't know, but it's like right there, we're down 10 men. So when I look at Jonathan Bond, I think everybody feels the same way, right? He's secure, he locks it down. But I just hope like that he's getting scored. I don't think he'll feel this way, but he's getting scored on so much that it's like, that never makes a goalkeeper feel good, right? Even though you're feeling good. So I just hope his confidence doesn't go away, which I highly doubt will. But Alex, what are your thoughts on Jonathan Bond so far?
Yeah, like you mentioned, context is key, and the context for some of the goals that have been scored on him. If I'm correct, the second goal from Mora, it hit the crossbar, and then Bond was already on the floor, and then he had to come in. That's not on Jonathan Bond. The defense kind of had to wake up there. They were kind of staring at the ball a little bit too much. So I don't really blame that on Bond. The penalty, obviously, probably the keeper has like a 50-50 or maybe even less. I don't know the math on that,
like
but
50%. It's really bad.
Yeah. So I don't really blame him on him, and even some of the goals too. The defense just really hasn't been as active. Bond has been in a lot of one-on-one scenarios where he's capitalized, and unfortunately has been scored on. Though I don't think this is really affecting his morale too much. A lot of people have big respect for Jonathan Bond. They know like, hey, he can pull out a save here and there. He's really vocal when it comes to leading his back line and what he wants. With David Bingham last year, when the Galaxy would attempt to play out the back, I got nervous because David Bingham isn't the goalkeeper that I kind of want the ball at his feet. With Bond, I feel a lot more comfortable, and he knows where to pick the ball at and just when to let it go. So I'm a lot more comfortable with that aspect of Bond's game.
Yeah, Alicia, what are your thoughts on Bond?
Yeah, I agree. I think really the way that the stats aren't favoring him, I mean, it'll only really make a difference, I think, if if we think he's in contention for goalkeeper of the year and his stats are absolutely terrible relative to like the top goalkeepers, that's going to hurt him a lot. I think the only way that he would be able to overcome it is if the defense completely locks down from here on out, or the Galaxy win the Shield. I think if the Galaxy won the Shield, he probably had to have a good case for the goalkeeper of the year, but otherwise he's probably saying goodbye to that. But you know what, it's his first year here. I think everyone expects him to be around for a long time, so he's still getting acclimated. I think he's playing really well. I mean, I really haven't seen any complaints, and honestly, all of the goals that he's allowed, there hasn't been a single one so far that I've said, gosh, he should have done better. And we saw a couple howlers this weekend around MLS, so
yes, we did.
He's not had one yet. Hopefully I'm not jinxing him here, knock on wood. No, I think he's been really, really solid. The Galaxy have had a lot of new players come in, a lot. Honestly, when you think about it, like they've really turned over their roster this year. I think
Been
he has.
impressive too.
Yeah, honestly, it is because a lot of teams sort of say, "Well, we're in a pandemic. It's really hard to get players," and the Galaxy are out here wheeling and dealing. So, what's going on with the rest of you teams, right?
Yeah, like if you compare the Galaxy to a team like, let's say, Inter Miami, who are having all these players come in, Galaxy have actually put up results, and Inter Miami aren't really looking convincing out on the pitch. They lost to the Chicago Fire this weekend due to a howler, as Alicia mentioned. So I've been really impressed with that, with the Galaxy, and how they're just acclimating with one another, spending time with one another outside and on the pitch. So I really think that time they've spent together is really, we're seeing that on the pitch, and we're seeing that they're looking a lot more communicative, looking a lot more organized than Inter Miami, who have spent on players and have had a lot of players, and
I think
currently they're not having the
most. I think Inter Miami spent the most money on all these players, and they don't got a lot to show for, unfortunately.
And their DP, Rodolfo Pizarro, he's coming off the bench, so that's not something. That's not a good sign, really.
No, it's not. And I don't know what's going on over there with Inter Miami. So we'll see what happens with that. Tony in the chat says, anyone know the reason behind turf in Portland? It's soccer Pacific, so I don't understand why it's not grass. I think I'm gonna just guess. I think it's because it's Portland's northwest. They have beautiful grass, but I don't know why they don't have grass instead of turf. Do you know that, Alicia?
Yeah, it's because they say it rains too much, and so they can't keep the grass good for a whole year, and so it's more cost effective to have extremely good turf. Obviously, there's been a lot of discussion over how good that turf actually is, but no, there's the two, well, actually all three of the Pacific Northwest teams basically say the same thing. I can't remember if Portland Stadium, I think Portland Stadium is, actually I'm pretty sure it is. Portland Stadium, like there's about a third of the stadium that hardly gets any sunlight, so that would be hard to grow grass on that. You could do it, but it would be tough. So
yeah, I used to live in Seattle, so I know how consistently it rains out there, and it's always beautiful. It's always green. It's always there's always grass out there. But it's like if it gets so like I mean, I think teams could do it. You just have to put a tarp on it. I mean, I think Portland could do it. I mean, they don't got outside the Blazers. They don't have another football team playing in there. But it is cost effective. I don't cut those checks. So hey, look, it's not my decision. CCJ 2009 says, should Jonathan Klinsman find a new club? Wow. I mean, I still think you need a backup. Alex, what are your thoughts on this?
I feel like he should. I think he should stay in MLS. I'm gonna be there's plenty of G2 goalkeepers that we can call up to be backups. We got Eric Lopez and Vom Steeg, who can easily become backups, because Bond will definitely be the keeper for the foreseeable future. Right now, I think he's making his case and definitely looks like a top tier goalkeeper in MLS. Jonathan Klinsman, I can maybe see him going to Inter Miami now. After that howler. But yeah, I feel like we didn't really give Jonathan Klinsman too much of a chance last season. He came in kind of late and only started, if I'm correct, maybe 3 matches, and that was it. And then now with Jonathan Bond coming in, it's going to be a lot harder to win that starting position, especially with how well Jonathan Bond has been between the sticks. But yeah, I feel like the best decision for him as a player should be to look for a new club.
Wow. Okay, Alicia, your thoughts?
I think Klinsman's on I think he might only be on a 1-year deal, so he may be out. If he doesn't get playing time anyway, he may be out after this year. But no, I think Alex is fully right. He really hasn't gotten a chance. That being said, I think Bond's fantastic, so there's no reason to switch at this stage. But no, I mean, I think Klinsman, if you're going by a completely demoralized team at the end of the rope, playing for a coach that they're not really getting anything out of at that point, they're getting hammered week after week. I mean, you can't put all that on him, right? Like, that's not on him. So he came into a tough situation. But having said that, I think his role is going to be as a backup for now. Like, I don't see any way that he's going to come out of that. So, but you're right. I mean, the Galaxy carry a lot of goalkeepers, which is a lot of teams do that. But I'm a little bit surprised at how the willingness to carry so many guys. So I guess I don't see that as an issue. So not my concern. But yeah, it's always kind of puzzled me why so many teams carry 4 goalkeepers. Sometimes they carry 5, and I just think that's like, wow, that's a lot of guys to be carrying.
I mean, Portland did need that. They have had
Yes,
troubles
Portland
for
did need it.
goalkeepers
Yeah.
this year. So yeah, you can kind of see those situations do pay off, just like in Portland.
But
And
the
he
guy
says,
that came in for Portland, he's good. He's
He's been
doing
really
well,
good
but
these last 2 matches.
yeah, he's really good. So they got a good one, if, in an emergency situation.
yeah, Andy says the weather, talking to me here about the turf. He said, let it be. He says the grass on the background of this shows looks nice though. Hey man,
It looks
thank you.
beautiful.
I paid for it. I cut the grass right before the show. So, Sebastian, I don't know how you forgot this episode was for you, man. You're always about the San Jose Quacks, how you like to call them. A Galaxy Guy podcast brings up a good point. He says, Jonathan Klinsman will never be a fan favorite amongst Galaxy fans. He dissed one of our most legendary players. Fan base will never forget. He's talking about Landon Donovan, right? And I forgot what he said, but
he went ha 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 ha. And I don't know I think it was Twitter
because of Landon Donovan didn't get called up to the national team, right? Because his dad was the national team coach, right? That along those lines, right?
Yeah, but Klinsman was also 17. I mean, I'm not saying that just because you're 17 you can say whatever you want, but he was a kid and he should not have done that. But also, I also don't feel like you should hold it against him for the rest of his life. I mean,
Galaxy really Guy podcast he says fans will never forget. So.
I mean, if Jonathan Klinsman did have a role, in this team, people are gonna bring it up and be like, "Hey, remember that one time on Twitter you laughed when you didn't get called up for any international matches?" Like I'm 17. I'm not gonna say dumb stuff because at the end of the day, especially in this day and age, people are gonna be able to go back in time and find something dumb you said and hold it back against you. So I don't really hold it against Jonathan Klinsman. He's obviously young, but who knows what was going on at that time? Maybe, who knows, man? But I'm not gonna put the blame on him. Now I'm not really gonna hold anything against him for saying that.
Yeah, Andy says 17-year-old Andy on Twitter would have been way worse than ha ha ha. That is so true. That honestly, I don't know how long I've had Twitter, but I just like everybody, I've said some dumb stuff.
Somebody's now is gonna go back all the way to Gio's first tweet now.
Go for it, man. I know I posted quotes and stuff. Look, I got no shame in my game. I don't even now. It's all soccer related. Talking about that. But yeah, I mean that's an interesting point because the thing that I remember most, right, is Klinsman not bringing Landon Donovan. I mean, you could have had him as a sub, but whatever. I wasn't the coach, and I think it backfired on him. But hey, that's neither here nor there. But Galaxy Guy podcast says look like shooting fish in a barrel in I guess so. So but yeah, guys, I think that's it. I think we're gonna wrap things up here because we're almost an hour in. Sebastian, he says, I'm always looking at Twitter for Gio's bad takes. Nice.
Ooh.
Hey, make sure you hit the notification on there. So just so you don't forget, Sebastian, hit the notification on Twitter. I got you. Don't worry about my bad takes. They'll keep coming. I'm trying to get better. But yeah, guys, Alicia, thank you for being on. Alex, thank you for being on. Alicia, let the people know where they can follow you.
Sure, you can find my work on LA Galaxy and LA Galaxy 2 at legconfidential.com. You can find me at Twitter at Soccer Musings.
Alex, let the people know where they can follow you.
You can follow our main account, Total LA Galaxy, on Instagram and Twitter, and you can go to my YouTube channel, Alex Ruiz Sports with a Z. I uploaded my first video of my LA Galaxy FIFA Career Mode series for any of you guys who are interested. I finally came around to editing that and kind of took a while, but hey, I'm excited to get it started and hopefully, guys, you enjoy me playing FIFA. So yeah.
Yeah, man. Now you can get your Galaxy GM stuff on the way there. G-Man says, what's Twitter? Definitely join G-Man's Discord group. It is really good. Good night, everybody. So, guys, if you guys want to follow me, you guys can follow me at Gio Garcia LA on Twitter. If you guys enjoyed this episode, guys, if you guys are listening to the podcast, make sure to join us on Monday. Don't be like Sebastian and forget. Turn on your notifications on YouTube, Facebook, so you can listen to all my bad takes. So Sebastian is not just alone here listening to my bad takes. So for that, guys, for Alicia and Alex, this is Gio. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye, everybody.